Hello, I'm Dell, and welcome to this episode of what you need to know about home studios for social media. In this episode, we're going to talk about scene audio. Not just scene audio from the standpoint of what it is, but we're going to actually apply it, and we're going to do a little bit more than a superficial look. Now, we will touch back on global audio for the purposes of using that spaced repetition method. We're also going to continue the immersion, where we show you a little bit more stuff than just exactly that one thing. Start to get the old mind working on what you can actually do with this. Because from my standpoint, I use a different setup for live broadcast, live stream, versus what I would use if I'm going to just use VLC in part of a show that go back in and edit pieces and bits out of it. Now, VLC Player has some integrated controls which are very nice. They work well because they're right in front of you in your studio when you're running it, so you can stay focused with your heads up toward your screen and your camera, and it works well for that. I find the controls a little bit rough in time when I have used this thing on this machine. Now, your machine may run better. I don't know. And if you're going to do the spool to disk using OBS to generate your show and then go back and post-process, edit, cut out some little flubs or to get some scene transfer so you're not using exactly the same 5-10 minute face all the time, you can do that. And you can also trim out little bits of it if you have a little start or stop and you have to roll maybe your video backwards a little bit more so that you can catch the good starting spot you're looking for. That works well. But just like I use Zoom. It's not necessarily the best, but it's what I use for my studio conference connection. Works great. But you can also use Skype or GoToMeeting or Teams or WebEx, whatever video conferencing software you wanted, you can use that with OBS. All you would need to do then is just to use your hardware capture on your monitor. Now, my setup, I run the engineer's panel to the right where I run the audio and the timers and the stream data, that information, that connection, so I can watch it, see if somebody's coming in or commenting on the live stream, that sort of thing. Use that for that purpose. Use OBS in the center one, and of course the left panel is for exchange, really. I use it for a capture to get the browser in, the video in, whatever I need. That's what that panel is for. So I could use a different video player. You could too. You don't have to use VLC. But VLC does have some integrations, and the audio is easy to pipe. So what do you say we look at it, and we're going to talk about how to do the audio. Because when I open this thing up, you're going to start to see some real nice features of how to properly leverage power of scene audio. So are you ready? Get to that part. Now, this is the standard interface using OBS and VLC using the built-in control. Now, the first thing I have to say is when it comes up by default, if you were to make a brand new fresh scene, the audio output is no monitor and maximum volume, and that will go to all 6 tracks in the audio stream or the stream to the disk, whichever the case may be, however you have it set up. It'll be banging loud, and you won't hear it in the monitor. Now, how we have the monitor, we go to File, Settings, Audio, and you pick what your monitor source will be, and that will be these earphones for me. So this is very difficult to actually show, so I had to set up a scene and go in there, play it once, catch that audio, monitor it, and drop that volume down. So you're missing some of the fun of dealing with VLC and OBS and using their native format. So what I've got set up is a scene over here. If you can see my little mouse, okay, I have a VLC video source. That's just the default, like you would pick a scene or audio, any of that. And I have it nested inside a scene up top that you see up here. So let's just double click what the VLC looks like, and it brings up a pop-up. Now this pop-up in particular shows what my playlist is. For simplicity's sake, I've got a single file here loaded up, and we have 3 choices how VLC will behave in the OBS environment through these natural controls. The first one is stop when not visible, restart, and that's pretty self-explanatory. When you do a scene transition, you load up a video, you kick it on. When you swap from preview to program, it starts playing, and the minute you transition out of the program to preview or any other, it resets to zero, the time to zero. It resets that video. Now the next one I find more valuable is the pause when not visible. And how I would use that is, see, I have the video queued up ready to go. I'm in the main screen on program. I'm doing my talking. And what I do then is, jibber jabber, introduce something, switch, play the video. Here's something I want to comment on. Transition back, it automatically stops. When it automatically stops, then that gives me the ability to restart it when I flip it back and forth. And we go there. Now the other one, always play when not visible. I don't know what that's good for, personally. I've not used that because if it's running and it's streaming, it's going to your stream or your file, to your disk, one of the two. If it's playing, it's outputting unless you turn it to not output, in which case, what good is it to play the video if no one can hear it? So we have that queued up. We'll check and use the center box for our behavior. Now we have it set up and ready to go. You can see in the monitor that I have my OBS scene ready to go, and we're going to go ahead and run that video. Now, I've already adjusted the audio, but I will show you what it looks like when it comes up. Now here we are. You see a little pop-up. We have the VLC source. I've got it muted. I'm going to turn it back on.
This is my YouTube channel, RLDL149.
It is outputting to the stream at this point.
Channel
because when we go to
productions altogether,
pop-up,
no spaces. I always
bring up advanced properties.
I'm on 2 platforms.
Then I have to turn something on so you can see this.
Where you guys have been very generous and following me for years, and I appreciate that. I've also kind of stumbled through.
Now you see the pop-up.
Basically documenting some
this
of the home
source only exists in this scene,
a little cooking,
which makes it hard to preset. So you have to literally set your scene up and adjust it. The default is monitor off.
If it helps somebody, I'm going to do it anyway. It slows me down a little bit.
Okay.
But, for the most part,
we're going to take that off.
And maybe somebody can benefit from it. I mean, we do learn a lot from each other. But it's 2021. We made it.
Go ahead and calm that so I don't have to hear it in my ear when I talk. Let's put the center panel back on. And that's pretty well much it. Now, if I switch it back, you can see in the left pane, the preview pane, I've stopped talking. At least one of me has. You can see the audio still going. When I switch it back, I should start back to talking. Are you ready for that to go?
Or not, but I got a channel over there. And in this series with the...
Okay, let's try that again.
What you need to know...
I stopped. Let's hear how quickly the audio comes in the recorded version of this.
About home studios for social media. They'll be on both, but there's a 2-week lead time.
For me, I always hear a little bit of a
And if I understand my Rumble right, the only place you'll see these videos on Rumble
now,
is
these
with
are the
a
controls
player exclusive to that.
Let me turn that audio
down. Of course,
down.
I'll have them on YouTube as well.
Okay, now this is a slider. You can see it in here. If I come up, you can see the little timeline. Now I can rewind it for the purposes of that restart, so that in my clean output, if I'm doing post-processing, I can just roll it to this point, drop it off, and let it go.
Each other, but it's 2021. We made it, and we see that
now the video has a lag in it. Do you see how this is going? It works. It's handy, but I don't think it works particularly well, at least not on my computer. Now I can reset. I can go to the previous one. If I had more than one video in the playlist, I can back up to the next video, go forward to the next, back up to the previous. I can pause it. I have some control down here in the bottom. The problem that I have is when I stop and then I restart, It restarts fairly well, but on a pause, I can get quite a bit of delay. So that, I think, is enough of that. Let's go back to how Dell does his. I do it a different way. And because I've already done a scene called VLC Standard in OBS, I need to differentiate that. This is not about personal narcissism or anything like that. I'm not very self-impressed, but I'm going to call this VLC Dell's way, just to differentiate it from the OBS way. I'm going to slide it up and put that in my actual show scenes you see there on the side. Now, we don't have anything in this scene. We got to build it. And I'm going to go to File, Settings, Audio, and down here to Mic 4, I'm going to pull VLC Cable C. And I'm going to add that and say OK. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Dell, this is supposed to be about scene audio. Why are you showing us VLC and rehashing this old thing you've already showed us with the global audio? Well, it's very simple. I'm showing you VLC as a kind of an immersive thing, kind of get you primed for the next time you see it. You won't be a stranger to it. And I'm rehashing global audio because we've just piped things in. Now I'm going to get a little more subtle, because now we see VLC is down at the bottom, but it has a rather ugly name, and we're going to right click and rename it. And again, so much imagination, VLC MON. Again, I'm not trying to be cute. I like to keep things simple and direct. So if I walk away and I don't do a scene set for 6 months or so, because you can save your scene collections, that I'll know what I'm doing. I'll have a concept for what I'm doing, and I give it some cute name like VLC monitor. Now I'm going to pull this down to about 20 dB. So that's about the green and yellow on the pot down there by the little VU meter. And I'm going to go to the cog and bring up advanced properties, because the default for an output is usually no monitor and write all channels. And I want VLC monitor to be monitor only, mute output. Be sure I'm going to go ahead and turn off all of my channels so that I don't even record it to the track if it were somehow to be switched. So now I have that going, but I don't have anything else in my scene. So the next thing I want to do is add a display capture. Now, if I do a display capture, I have the ability to grab anything off of it, just like we did Zoom, just like we would have done Skype or any of the other virtual conference softwares. They're there. We grab it. If we can display it, we can grab it. So rather than get just a simple display capture, I'm going to go up here and grab a scene, because I'm going to refer back to where we did the nesting video. Because if you haven't seen the nesting video, go look at it. I think it'll be useful to you. And I'm going to use the left panel scene. And you see, because I did that, I now see myself, and I can turn myself on or off if I needed to have that option during a live show or whatever. I can do it. It's already built. Didn't take me any trouble to do that. But I don't have scene audio yet. So now I have put in place the fact that I can now pipe from VLC to my earphones, and I can hear it, but I can't record it. So now we're going to come up and we're going to add a microphone, or the audio input capture. And this one, again, so much imagination. VLC OUT. And we're going to grab the same input, the VLC cable C, and grab it and say OK. And now we don't see it because it's scene audio. It won't be in the program until we switch to it. We got to transition to see it. Now you'll have to trust me that I'm bringing VLC out down to the same position, about that 20 dB. And now we'll switch it back. And I can check it. But the default is no monitor, write all tracks, or whatever. So I know that one, when the scene switches, we're going to write to our file, or we're going to write to our stream. I'll hear it through the monitor, through the global. And why I do that is because now if I go over to my left display, I can bring up VLC. Now I got VLC running. I'm going to go to audio just to be sure and check the device. And you see, yes, it is defaulting to VLC cable C. So we're outputting. And I'll reflect back to that drive how the devices work. I can take a voltage source and run multiple loads, but I can't take two voltage sources into a single load unless I have some kind of a mixer, some kind of a divider circuit. So I have one output driving two audio inputs, one global, one scene audio. Now let's go ahead and play. Now when I bring this up, grab a file, and I play this. When you see it spooling in your OBS panel before you, you'll see it playing in the preview screen. You won't hear anything. Let's see if you can hear it to the microphone.
RLDL 149. I have started a Rumble channel.
So that's just proof that I can actually monitor the VLC output, but you're not hearing it on the stream. So now when I switch, it will automatically take this audio and pump it to the stream.
It's basically documenting some of the home skills and some
And
of the
I
stuff,
still hear it.
hunting.
Now what I can do with this that I couldn't do with the other, if I switch back and I hit pause, I have the ability to put in a different show or to pull this forward to adjust it anywhere I want to and play. And I can hear it to make sure I have it queued up to the right spot. If that makes any difference. That makes a big difference, specifically if you have something you want to repeat in a video. You're able to do this, and I can hear it in my ear, and it won't write to the stream until I get it queued up to the exact right spot. Now, let's look at something else. Let us go into our scene, and I want to take my left panel and I want to hide my left panel. This time I want to add in the display capture itself, because now if I take left panel, I can make it a left panel matted for VLC. See how big it is? We can stretch it. We can literally do our trimming thing where we hold the Alt down and slide up and take the top, slide it down. This is going to be a pretty rough cut, just to be sure. I'm going to bring that one in a little bit. Bring that one to the edge. Go full screen. And there we have it. Now I have a full display as if that's all there is. And if I run across to the left panel to operate the backward, the forward, the normal VLC control, it won't show up on the stream as long as I come down on the bottom. Now if I pop up in the VLC screen, it's going to be there, but as long as I stay on the bottom, and you can even trim out a little bit more to give yourself a little bit of room for that kind of human error while you're producing your show. So I hope that helps. And if this video is good for you, I would appreciate your subscribing on Rumble to Del Hollow Productions, no spaces, that's the username, or on YouTube at RLDL 149. The difference is if you go to the Rumble page, you should see things about 4 episodes in advance. And I appreciate the views in either or both places. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.